Holy guacamole. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Titanic Talks, episode 37. We're silencing the phone because it's time to talk. It's your main man, Titanic Sinclair. And he keeps his phone on Do Not Disturb at all times. That's how you know. Well, I shouldn't give that away, actually. Do you use Do Not Disturb? Are you an iPhone person? Greatest feature ever. For years, I've been saying, why can't you just delete the phone app? I do it. If you need to get a hold of me, if you really need to get a hold of me, you know how. And that's just how we do it. How are you? Are you good? Be honest. Are you good? I hope that you are, sincerely. We took a week off last week. I figured we would let it be a celebratory release day, new project, Finn's Parents. Thank you all very much for all the love. I didn't know how that was going to go. But it was one of those things. We can talk about this a little bit later as we get into in more depth. There's a really good question actually that will allow us to dive deeper. But it was sometimes you just get something in your head. In that case, it was the chorus of the song. I couldn't get out of my head. We were driving. And I was just like, I don't know what this is for. When you write a lot of songs, that's kind of the way it goes, you know? What is this for? Where does this live? And I thought, well, actually, that might be cool if Chelsea says that. And boom, there's a side project. That was it. The song ended up sounding cool. And I thought, hey, let's make a video. And that is the way the cookie crumbles. But thank you for... It really does mean a lot. You know, everyone's been so nice about that. And it's funny, you know, I'll spend months on a song or an album and, you know, it comes out and you send it to your friends or you post it and your friends comment on it. And I'll tell you what, I had more people text me directly or call me to let me know how much they enjoyed it and just how special it was to them. And obviously, you know, people who I know IRL and those who have met my son, it's when it's a familial thing, there's definitely a different layer to it. Also, I find this is something that's taken me a long time, actually. And as I've learned this, the older I get and I reflect back, the less I think about something and just do. Good advice for all you songwriters and producers and artists out there. Every single thing I've done that has been successful, and not saying that the Finn's Parents is successful at all, but I feel like it's a success because as someone who makes things, the best, once you've had all the numbers and the numbers didn't make you any happier, you know, this is streaming like crazy and you sold all these tickets and you have all these views and it's, you know, to me at least, it was all, there was an excitement at a certain point when things were really blowing up. You know, you're averaging, there was a time when it was like 1 million views a day. It was crazy. And I would just look at the numbers and be like, wow, that is something else. And I always had this kind of like imposter syndrome with it. It's like, man, like 1 million views a day? Like 1 million people don't know how dumb this is? But hey. But then you make something that's like heartfelt, and success to me in that realm is when the people that you love feel the love that came from it. Hippy dippy, I know. But look, it makes me feel good. the past, well, I guess we haven't talked in 2 weeks now. A lot of things have happened, and it's been, as you know, if you're a longtime listener here, longtime viewer, you know that my least favorite thing about living in Texas is the heat, and we finally, it subsided a little bit. When it's 75 degrees out and you're like, oh, we can wear a jacket, you know it's been hot. Because I lived in Los Angeles, California for years and years and years, about a decade, and it was that every day. And it was just like, oh yeah, maybe I can wear a light jacket at night, but it's been getting into the 50s at night. And you know your main man has been enjoying that. We went to Austin City Limits. Do you know what that is? Because I didn't. And well, I knew what the show was. I think it used to be on PBS. And it was like, to me, it was like a lie. It was like Jules Holland, if you know British television. Jules Holland, for a very long time, I don't know if they do it anymore, but hosted a television show where I think they had like 3 bands, and they would just have them kind of all facing each other, like in a circle, and they would just go from one to the other, and always had really good sound engineers. I've been listening to a lot of Pulp again, and I guess around the time I did, the Linden Place EP, I was listening to Pulp a lot. I've always been a big fan of them. I guess you would call them Britpop, maybe. And yeah, probably. I got really into the album This Is Hardcore, which came out, let's see, This Is Hardcore, apparently that's a hardcore fest, which is music that I kind of played in high school. Kind of. There's a tough guy hardcore, if you're familiar with the genre, called Throat Punch. We used to play shows with that band all the time. They were awesome. I don't know if any of that stuff's online. Maybe you can find it. They formerly were known as Fight It Out. 2 very hardcore. I know they were like really into like Hatebreed, if you're into that kind of thing. Is Hatebreed tough guy? I guess. Let's consult the tough guy hardcore experts out here. But This Is Hardcore, that came out in 1998. Great album if you've never heard it. I want to say the opening track, The Fear. There's a really great performance. Yeah, track number 1. Listen to the whole album. It's great. You probably know, if you listen to my stuff, you probably at least know Common People. I think that's like their biggest hit. It was in that whole Boys and Girls Blur kind of Blur by the band Blur. It is a good album. That whole kind of realm. But I think on Jules Holland, maybe it was the same show, they did a version of This Is Hardcore, the title track, which is fantastic as well. But I was enamored by their guitar player in the performance of The Fear. He had this really cool pink turtleneck. It was like a pink striped turtleneck. And like a black Gibson Les Paul. That's kind of the end of the line for me. I've never owned a Gibson Les Paul. And he had I've always wanted just like a Black Beauty, or if not a Black Beauty, just a black with gold hardware Les Paul. I don't know if the guitar player from Pulp had that, but in my imagination, that's what he had. We'll have to check and reference, but if you're looking for something to watch, check out the live performance from Jules Holland of The Fear. And just really cool, you know? Like there was probably like, I don't know, a solid year of my life where that to me was the coolest thing in the world. And not only how it sounded, and I completely, especially at that time, identified with the lyrics, but how they looked. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of cool how that whole thing is making a little bit of a comeback. The whole Britpop look and feel and the aesthetic, and people are buying CD players again, which is hilarious. But Jarvis Cocker, I mean, legend. And the work that he did with Air, who, as you all probably already know, one of my favorite groups of all time, that would have been on Pocket Symphony, was fantastic. I just gave you about, like, I don't know, a couple hours at least worth of cool stuff if you haven't checked it out, right? What got me talking about Pulp? Jules Holland. Why was I talking about Jules Holland? For some reason, Austin City Limits. Oh, because the television show. I thought it was just a show. Apparently it's a festival. Didn't know how big it was, but one of my, two of my very, very good friends performed. Same band. They're in a group called Eve's Tumor, and that would be my friend Reese and my friend Chris, Mr. Chris Griotti, as you all probably are familiar, one of my longtime collaborators and absolute legend of a human being and shredder. And they sounded fantastic. It was awesome. And it's funny because at Austin City Limits, they have Austin Kitty Limits. They have a whole little kids zone. So it's a family-friendly music festival. And that's not something I was very familiar with. I've played a lot of them. I grew up going to Lollapalooza. I used to live a couple blocks. I could open my window in Chicago and hear Nine Inch Nails playing. You know, kind of a cool thing. I love Chicago. And it almost reminded me of like a Lollapalooza kind of setup. Definitely the scale. It takes over the entire city of Austin. And we had beautiful weather, which was, you can't, if you're at a music festival with beautiful weather, holy smokes, and your friends are playing, and you got the VIP special, wristband, and you get to do all the cool things. But these days, I just go watch the bands. And so it's always great to see your friends perform, and they sounded great. And afterwards, we watched Yeah Yeah Yeahs, who I had never seen live, although I've hung out with Nick, who plays guitar in that band, and very nice guy. When I lived on Sunset in Los Angeles, I used to get my hair cut. Across the street, there was this tiny little, behind like a bodega, tiny little room, and it was by appointment only. And this, it was a little miniature hair salon, and it was great because I could just walk across the street, book the appointment, and because anything in LA takes 5 years to do, right? And it used to be, well, I am going to spend my entire day driving to have someone, slice the hair up a little bit. And it was, Silver Lake, if you know anything about LA, kind of hipster zone. So it also served as a gallery. And there was a gallery opening one night. And that is how I met Nick from Yeah Yeah Yeahs, who was very, very, very chill. Super cool guy. It's one of those weird things. It's like, oh my God, that's the dude from Yeah Yeah Yeahs. And when it's a small kind of intimate thing, and he was talking to a friend that I knew, and who else was there? That group Yacht, which that goes way back, because I remember my friend Mitchell Davis, OG YouTuber, he was a really big fan of theirs, and I was as well, and we kind of connected on that. And I think he was like friendly with them. And I'd been to a couple shows. We had been in the same kind of circle because they were doing a YouTube thing. And it was like a guy-girl situation for a while there. Early YouTube. We're talking probably like '08, maybe 2009. And it was always kind of via proximity, but they were there as well. And I remember, I think Jonah maybe was talking to Nick, and it was, oh, hey, this is kind of weird. Like, we all kind of are in a similar, we're all here, right? And we all make music. That's really what matters. And had a great little get together. You know, I recorded actually a lot of music. I think we did like 5 songs with the producer of Yeah Yeah Yeahs. If you're not familiar with them, you've probably heard their song, Wait, They Don't Love You Like I Love You, Maps. Maps, great song. Man, and at a music festival, that song went off. Holy smokes. Everyone was hugging and holding each other. And, you know, I told Chris when we were watching Maps live. It was my first time seeing him live. And, you know, Chris and I go way, 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 way back. And we've written oh my God, so many songs. And we have different philosophies, but it's cool because when we come together, there's a meeting of minds, and you know, I think everyone has their individual philosophy about at least popular music or top 40, you know, pop music. And my thing is always like, you know, we need to find a new way of saying I love you. You've heard me say this. A lot of people ask me about this kind of stuff, my take on it. You know, what's a new way of saying I love you, or I hate you, I can't stand you, I need you, I want you, I miss you, all those things. Oh, by the way, Miss You by Caleb Lee Hutchinson, produced by Titanic Sinclair, out now. Just came out last week, and doing quite well. That song made me cry. Yeah, he wrote the heck out of that one. That dude is just on another level. He's so good. But we're watching the performance of Maps, you know, and it's just thousands and thousands of people. And I look over to Chris, you know, and I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. They found a new way to say I love you. I can't really think of another song that says they don't love you like I love you, and you put it with the right chords and the right melody and with the right tone, and it was so cool. And yeah, big shout out to them. And what I was gonna say is Dave Siddick, who produced that. Chris and I recorded. This would have been, I think, as we were recording I Disagree. We just got the session somehow. Through a friend of a friend, if I remember correctly, and just recorded some really wild stuff. And I wish that would have come out because it was out there. I remember Chris rolled up, as he always does, with, you know, probably multiple guitars, but this giant pedal board. And Dave just kind of like looks over. He's like, "You're not going to need that." And Chris was like, "Uh-oh." That was early on in Chris's synthesizer era. You know, when you're one of the best guitar players alive, you should at least show up with your guitar and your pedals, right? And Dave was just like, "Oh no, we're making future music," or he says something like that. Anyway, fun sessions over there. He got mad at me. It was weird. I got a text from him randomly, like, it must have been like 2020. And he was like, "You get one warning." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What is this?" And then a couple hours later, I find out, you know, this is like when all the drama stuff is going on. And allegedly I had leaked photos and stuff. And the whole thing was like, oh, like he leaked photos without makeup. Oh, but by the way, buy my makeup that I'm selling or whatever. And, some people do that. And I don't blame people for getting like wrapped up in the hoo-ha and the drama, because I guess if I was in his position, you'd probably stick up for someone in that spot or whatever without kind of realizing like, what if this person's actually horrible? It is what it is. You know what? Let bygones be bygones. And, if you don't know everything, hey, look, this is why I'm not even going to comment on. Oh, by the way, since the last time we talked, a new war started. Cool. Hey, how about let's just stop killing people? Can we start there? World? That would be sick. We'd love that. But my take on it, look, I record music. And I don't record political music because that's just not me. And it seems like, it's a situation where it's just like, and a lot of my very close friends are very, gotta post your opinion on it because, you're a musician with 4,000 followers and the world revolves around you, right? But anyway, I'm on team, can we stop harming children? Can we stop? I'm a dad now. I can't handle. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I've tried so hard. I woke up one morning and you see the thing and you're like, oh God, here we go. And I've just been actively avoiding all of it. Because what's even real? I don't know. And you got all these, celebrities and stuff who... How about this? When has a celebrity ever made a real difference in the cultural zeitgeist that was a positive impact that saved lives and prevented hurt in the world? You can argue, oh, well, songs do that. I guess. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. It's frustrating. You see all these young kids getting so fired up about it, and young kids, teenagers. It's like I'm podcast 37, coming up on 37, and not that I have any more insight than anyone else, but it's like pretty much I remember being young and seeing the news back before the internet was everywhere. And, on the news, it was the same thing. And I guess when you're 17 years old or 16 years old and you're seeing it for the first time, you're like, whoa, wait a second, this is going on like right now? And it's like, yeah, dude, they both believe God's on their side, which is hilarious to me because it's like, well, I guess I haven't really read both of their holy books, but at least in the Bible, it's like, yeah, dude, just like, that's my favorite thing about the Bible. That's why, for years and years and years, denouncing it and thinking like, oh, this is silly and how can anyone believe this? And oh man, haha. And I was like, maybe I should read it actually. And then I did, and I was like, yeah, pretty much agree with all of it. Some of the Old Testament stuff, it's thousands of years old. But for the most part, it's like, hey, just be more chill, dude. That's what I got from it. Hey, be chill. Forgive people. Love them. Hey, have you tried forgiving people and loving them? When you're like, especially if you're someone like me who used to get so fired up about stuff, that was completely out of my control, and this person did me wrong, and this person and that person, I never even considered, hey, what if I love them? And the funniest thing happens when at least for me, when I made the decision to say, hey man, I don't have it figured out, and I don't claim to, and I tried to be this, I know what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. And finally you just drop to your knees and you're like, help? And for me, at least, the answers were all right there, which for the most part was like, hey dude, you're not being chill. And I'm far from cheap. I spread love with my peeps all day. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. Anyway, Austin City Limits. Tangent. I guess that's how we're going to end that little segment. It was great. Yeah, were awesome. Death grips. It was fun. Although I will say, I've never seen Death grips in a club. And I remember thinking, yeah, this is probably a band that I should see in a club. So next time they come around, I'm definitely gonna check them out. I just had to Google. I feel like I misquoted Biggie, and I'm far from cheap. I smoke skunk with my peeps all day. Hey, I'm white. Okay. Do you ever have an object? Do you ever have an item? That, by the way, it's so funny. I've certain words with my son. I think in one of the previous podcasts, maybe when my boy was first born, I can't remember, but we talked about how funny would it be if we took like a random word like banana and just called it like a shorby shorb his whole life. Like, oh, do you want a shorby shorb? So then he would get to like kindergarten and be like, oh, I want a shorby shorb. Or they'd be like, this is a banana. And be like, no, that's a shorby shorb. I thought that'd be so funny. We didn't do that, but I did implement the same philosophy or the same idea. And, instead of like, hey, hand me your toy, I always call it an item or an object. So, can you please hand me that item? Because I think as soon as he starts like saying, he's talking a little bit now, not sentences, just words, but that's just for me. I think that's going to be really fun. Like, Dada, here's an item. And then I'll get a giggle from it, right? I think about things like that. Anyway, do you ever have an item that has been in your like Amazon cart, or every time you go to the store and you pass by it and you're looking at it and you're like, is today the day? Today was the day I finally bought the item, and the item was a gaming headset. I couldn't bring myself to buy a new gaming headset. A couple years ago, I got an Xbox for Christmas. I really wanted to, I think it was my first Christmas with Chelsea, actually. And I talked to her about Red Dead Redemption and how much I enjoyed it. And she got me an Xbox with Red Dead Redemption 2. And that's where I was like, oh, and I didn't tell her how much I liked Fortnite. And over, 2020, all that craziness, I reconnected with a lot of friends because of Fortnite. We were all so bored. and kind of, it's almost like if you've ever done hard drugs, Fortnite is kind of like finding out someone else like is into the stuff that you're into. Fortnite is that. So you almost have to like speak in code a little bit, like, you got some victory royales? Do you stream, or what's the situation? What's your are you build or no build, that kind of thing? And I've got a very close circle of friends that we play really every other night. And it's great because Caleb plays. It was funny. We were recording Southern Galactic out next week. And we were like a week into the recording. And at a certain point, we got to talking about video games. And I think I asked, maybe I asked Caleb or Caleb asked me. I can't remember, but one of us was like, do you ever play Fortnite? Kind of doing the test the water thing. And at the same time, we're like, yeah. And we stopped recording. We're like, all right, we're playing right now. Like, let's see what you got, kind of thing. He's really good. And he's been playing with my squad, which is great. I think we should start, maybe not streaming, but maybe. The conversations you have when you're playing, especially if you got 4 people, the conversations that you have are really funny because you're so focused on like winning the game, but you're still talking. So, and the friends that I play with, they're writers and performers, particularly in Los Angeles, doing really cool stuff. But it's funny because we never talk shop. I mean, sometimes, we work together on stuff, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But for the most part, we're just there to play the game and just talk, And it's weird because as an adult male, especially out here, I don't really have, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm a dad. And I'm very lucky that I work with people that I love. And I get to do that. I get to work with my best friends and my family. And I understand that's a very rare thing. A lot of people have trouble with that. That never was, well, arguably. I always found that you can be the most creative around people that you're comfortable with. And the barrier of, I guess, like social discomfort just doesn't exist. And I believe that makes for more interesting work, particularly in creative fields. Now, as most of you know, that can bite you in the behind. But that's a risk that I'm willing to take because even with all of like the nastiness that's happened, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like I've probably worked with like 1,000 people. Whether it's like crew members or assistants or engineers, producers, songwriters, even, just people on the label side. Oh my goodness, that must be, yeah, it's got to be about over 1,000 people. And I was thinking about this, like, the only 2 people who have ever expressed, and it was never at the time, 8 years and I guess about 5 years. It was always after the fact, and after, it was people I was romantically involved with. So there's always a new romance involved, and then suddenly it's like, oh, hey, by the way, this is, I'm preaching to the choir. You've made it this far into this video, like, you understand what I'm saying. But when I was thinking that the other day, I was like, man, I'm surprised, like, I've been in some bad sessions to where definitely, like, at least to me, I'm always, if it's bad, I'm at least cordial. I think that's something that I learned from my dad, where it's always, if it's terrible and you just kill him with kindness, at least at a bare minimum, be kind. And I've always tried to be someone who's not like fake kind. And I'd rather have, I'd rather speak the truth and talk straight and be honest as opposed to, fronting and pretending to be some thing that I'm really not. Because doesn't that bug you out when there's someone you've heard about, or if it's like a well-known person and then you meet them and they're nothing, like they're like a bad version. They're like nothing like you thought they would be. And so it's like, oh man, you're just it's never fun. I'm sure you've noticed the edits at this point. You take 1 week off and everything goes off the rails. The charger I typically use got disconnected. It's part of being a dad. Kids are running around, they're unplugging things. All good. So we're just gonna ride this out and see how long it goes, because I'm already getting the warning that it's battery's dying. So it is what it is. My apologies. Let's power through some listener questions. I guess we'll end the gaming headset. I bought a gaming headset because my friends were saying that my audio was bad. And it's been like a couple months, and I was like, I'm not going to buy it, because the one I had came free with it. And I was like, I'm a 36-year-old man. I can't be buying. I spent a lot of money recently. And, like a gaming headset just seemed like a dumb purchase. Even though, sorry, my head's not in the game because I feel like I'm like pressured for time. Okay. Have you heard Silence Between Songs? Listener questions. This is from David. I hope that's your real name. Have you heard Silence Between Songs by Madison Beer? If so, what song did you like the most? I'm assuming Silence Between Songs is an album. No, David. Great name. But I will listen to it. Madison Beer, I'm almost positive I played a show with her. This would have been maybe 2015, 2016, and it was at BeautyCon in New York. And I remember, it was outside. Chris Griotti came and played with us for that show. I don't think we even had a drummer at that point. And I remember Madison Beer was the headliner. We were opening, and I remember I briefly said hello to her, and it was like, oh, I've never met you before, but I've met like 1,000 people like you before. And her mom was there, and I immediately got a momager vibe. Do you know what that is? Are you familiar with momagers? Manager moms. It's like I don't know anything about her. That's all I know about her, by the way. That's one of those names I hear a lot, or have heard. I'm assuming they're like probably well known. All I know is we played a very strange. I grew up playing in like punk rock shows and stuff, and suddenly I'm playing BeautyCon in. I want to say it was like on the west side of Manhattan. And her mom was like super upset that we had to like share a green room or something like that. Or it was that vibe. And that's the Madison Beer story. The camera finally died. We're back. Time travel. Passage of time. I got to say, in between here, we took a little break. Probably doesn't feel like that for our viewers at home. I love living in a small town. I love it so much. It's crazy going from one of the most densely populated areas in the country to a tiny little town. People are so friendly. They're so nice. And I went to go get a delicious treat for Chelsea. A peanut butter cup. And I gotta say, super happy. Got one of my motorcycles back today. It was in the shop all summer. And I got to ride it for the first time in since April? May, June, July. Yeah, I guess 4.5 months it's been in the shop. And apparently for vintage motorcycles, they don't make carburetors for them anymore. If you ride motorcycles, comment below. I have to find my motorcycle people. I never was one of those people, by the way. I always felt like, oh, that's stupid. And then, well, before I bought one, I thought I should be smart and safe and take the MSF course, which I did. And I'd ridden, I'd been on like dirt bikes and stuff like that, but it's getting nicer outside. And pretty much all summer, I haven't been able to ride my motorcycles. And champagne problem. But it's fun. It's really fun. And oh man, a bunch of people sent me that video, the motorcycle video from my former collaborator, and it's the exact same one of my motorcycles, the exact same one. I'm like, Interceptor 650 of all bikes. Anyway, I don't do mine in front of a green screen though. I actually ride it. I'm sorry. It's how you gonna make a song about riding motorcycles and then not actually ride one? But one of mine is finally out of the shop. My one vintage bike, and I'm excited about it. Although I realized it was, older bikes, they're finicky. It's like old guitars. There's always but they're charming, and that's why we love them. And I've been missing that one. This one's a cruiser, so you're sitting a little back more. And the one I've been riding, haven't been riding, my newest one, you're a little more hunched over. Not as comfortable, but they look cool. Okay, another question. Hi, I was just going to say I love the new stuff you're working on, specifically Finn's parents. Thank you. Who is this? Andrew. I wanted to ask, what can you tell us about the project and how you decided on it? Any specific mentions for musical inspirations? Also, are we going to hear more of Chelsea in future works? Were you always going to work with her musically? Love your work and wishing you well. Thank you, Andrew. We made a whole album. During the lockdown thing, I made like 3 albums, and one of those was with her, and we were just kind of, it was like top 40, very similar to the stuff I've made previously, and this is how I knew she was super cool, like it was done where like it was mixed, and she was the one who was like, yeah, I don't know if this is it. It's like, damn, that's kind of cool, actually. I've never worked with someone before who was like, let's not release this, because that's how I am. I've got, geez, too many things. At some point, maybe after I leave this earth, I'll write that into my will. I'm like, yeah, just release all of it. Here's the hard drives. I've got them all. They're 15 feet from me right now. Just release everything. One of those kind of situations that might be interesting. But Andrew, to answer your question, tell us about the project, how you decided on it. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, actually. We were driving back from the Gulf of Mexico, and we had a little weekend getaway. I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, something like that. And on the drive back, I had the chorus of Really Big House. When I'm driving, either I'm listening to music and really listening to it, but my son was asleep. I think Chelsea was probably asleep too. And it was quiet and the sun was coming down, and I had like the rhythmic thing. And one of the things that I like to do when I'm writing songs with other people, because I didn't know what to say. I had the rhythm of it, and there's not a melody, but I could hear, I knew I wanted those chords. And I just kind of set it back and forth, and she was kind of dozing off, and I was like, hey, what do you want? Give me like 3 or 4 things that right now you want. I was like, well, new car would be nice. Yeah. Like, I don't know, credit card, really big house. What do you want? I'm like, I'd like 1 billion streams on a song, and to be able to buy my baby anything he wants. And I was like, okay, a new car, credit card, really makes sense. And took a voice memo of that. And I already knew kind of like what that should sound like. And that's how it works. It's kind of earlier on in this episode I was talking about not so much the process, but when you're that close, to me, songwriting's been, it's been like a very intimate thing in my life. And and to me, that was kind of vulnerable and honest. And we had made a whole like pop record, like top 40. At that time, I was really into I was listening to a lot of like Max Martin, Dr. Luke, a lot of like Swedish producers and songwriters. And I think what we made was really good. I think we're just going to give those songs to someone else. I love them. I think they're great. There's one in particular. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever made. And maybe the time's passed, but we'll see. You don't know with this stuff. I'm old enough now, I think, where, if you sit with a song for a while, when the energy is behind a song and someone connects with it, you can give it. I've given a lot of songs away, and it's cool again to be in a collaborative thing that doesn't feel like work. And all of the things that I talked about this again earlier, but I like when it doesn't feel like work. And oh man, so Finn's Parents, we currently have almost a whole album done. It's like 7 songs. One of them in particular, I've sent it around to a couple of trusted close friends who I really trust their opinion. and pretty much unequivocally, is it the right word? Unanimously, maybe is a better word. Everyone has said it's the best thing I've ever made. And I was like, and this is before like Finn's Parents as like a project was even released. I like it because usually with what I do, there's like there's a certain amount of pressure of like, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And the things that I mean, look, I get it. It's you never know what's going to happen in life. You really don't. But I feel like I'd be doing myself and the people that I love and you, the viewer, a large disservice by continuing to keep everything on a hard drive. And I've done that for a very long time. And I don't want to do that anymore because I think this is maybe a part of being a parent. You know, every day is so special with my boy. And I think the more that I put out there, even if it's only like a couple people who listen to it, as long as they dig it, as much as I dig it, that's a win. So, Andrew, to finish your question here, are we going to hear more in the future? Yes. There's a whole album coming. Any specific mentions for musical inspirations? It's same stuff I always talk about, whatever I'm listening to now. Someone had pointed out it's I've used the chord progression before. It's a little different. Mainly in the C sharp minor 7. A little tastier chords, and then the chorus, I don't think I've used that progression in that key at least. But thank you for listening. Okay, let's hammer these ones out. Hey, Titanic, this is from Eugenie. One of my best friends in the world is named Eugene. Well, that's his nickname. I love Finn's Parents and can't wait to hear more. My question, though, is, are you concerned with working someone close to you again? We kind of talked about that. With everything in the past, is that a concern? Hey, yeah, same thing. I mean, yeah and no. It's like, the way I see it, everyone I've been around, everyone who has been close to me, I am and if you know me, if for some reason you're watching this and you know me, what's up? But this is what I do. I think it's funny when my friends or family members or people that I'm in a relationship with or whatever it is, like, I think it's fun and funny to be like, hey, let's make a song. You know, my friends come and visit me. Most of my friends are musicians, so it's easy, or it makes more sense. But I guess some people like go out and drink or go to the movies, or I don't know what people do. I like to make music with people. That makes me very happy. I think that's why I'm supposed to be here. And I make videos with, usually if you have a song, then it's like, well, let's make a video too. And that's what I've done my whole life. And it's funny with the Finn's Parents stuff because, like what Eugenie said here, you know, is that a concern? And to me, at this point in my life, It's something I think about. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think, well, if I like this, someone else might too. And that's the way I've always done it. Um, and it's led to some of the best experiences in my life. I didn't, I, my first band, I guess, I wanted it to be this thing. And I wanted, we were working with this big producer and I was trying so hard. And then I stopped trying and there's a nasty breakup. And through that, I channeled that into like, well, I know what I'm good at and I'll just do that, but I'll do it better and I'll try harder. And it blew up so big. There's hours and hours and hours of me trying to figure out this, and I've spent hours and hours and hours with therapists trying to figure out what that is. And I don't know. But I know if I'm releasing something, it's because I love it. And yeah, I guess that's it. One from Mac. Thank you for all the years of music. I grew up listening to everything you do, and I'm happy that you are releasing new music. Thank you, Mac. There's something special when you collaborate with Chris Criotti. Do you plan on working with him in the future? That's funny. I feel like Chris has come up like 50 times in this episode. Yeah. He's one of those people like, well, the thing I just talked about from Eugenie's question, he has that same thing I have. It's like, we can do something or we can make something. And he's like a brother at this point. He has been a brother for so long, and we've been through so much. You wouldn't believe it. But he's one of those friends where, he's one of like the most sought after producers in LA right now, and is doing huge stuff and playing huge shows, and it's great. And we haven't been able to sit down and do that in a while. But I feel that way with a lot of people that I've worked with. And I think that there's just a lot of like fans of musicians or artists. I think it's really easy when you're on the outside looking in, myself included, by the way. I'll take every opportunity I can to poo-poo on Haley from Paramore, nerd, and Taylor Swift, double nerd. But then, I say that stuff because I think it's silly and I think it's fun and entertaining or whatever. But anyone who puts stuff out, like, they probably care about it, even if it's something that isn't my cup of tea, And I've found the older I get, the more I'm just like, I might be dumb, but I'm not a dummy, Like, I know I'm not the audience for that stuff. And that's okay. And when I release something, I used to get all butthurt about, why don't people realize it's so great and whatever. And it's just like, dude, you're making stuff for a very specific audience. and having gone through, I guess, a lot of people reacting to stuff that doesn't have that easily digestible thing. Like I'm totally cool with that now, you know? And I mean, look, this year has been I've been making yacht rock and country music and I don't know, just like indie pop that to me I think is like, oh yeah, this would have been great in like 2010. That's, you know, like, but I still like that stuff. And I make stuff because I love to do it. Thank you for your question, Mac. Yeah, I guess we can end it there. I hope this was not like a completely. I'm all out of whack because the battery died and the camera died and all that stuff. But I hope this was entertaining, and maybe you got something out of this. That'd be great. And look, there's a whole lot of new music. I mean, the holidays are coming up really quick, and that's when your main man is on overdrive. New Mai Tai Guys stuff coming. Caleb Lee Hutchinson's new album, Southern Galactic, comes out next week. I just made the music video for the remix of Riotron's new track. Check that out if you haven't seen it. New Finn's Parents, new Titanic Sinclair. Doing a lot of stuff, and also really cool stuff happening with Matt Bennett's Party 101. There's going to be a big show coming up in December at the Hollywood Palladium, and we're making some really cool stuff for that, and a bunch of stuff that it has not been released, but we'll talk about it soon. A lot of stuff in the pipeline that I'm just really jazzed about, and it's cool because I get to work with my really close friends. So I hope you dig it. And for channel members, love you so much. I see you, I hear you, and I made a couple videos of I'm figuring out how to do the in the studio thing. And I made a couple, and I was like, I feel like this is going to be really boring. So let me know if you're a channel member. Like, do you care if it's boring? Because it's me just talking about plugins and how I write bass lines and, you know, how I write lyrics and stuff. And I just didn't want it to be boring. But now that I'm saying it out loud, I've been thinking about it, but I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's kind of cool. So click join, become a channel member. And we've got a bunch of cool stuff coming and a huge back catalog of old videos. You can go back and see some behind the scenes stuff in there. Merchandise available at titanicsinclair.bandcamp.com. And we have some really, really fun stuff for the holidays coming just in time for anyone who you know who might love. Ooh, how do I tease this? We've got computer show shirts coming. And I think it's super cool. Turns out I have the original files. So, yeah, good stuff. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me on this one. Holy smokes. Definitely ready for a nap here. And I love you very much. We'll see you next week. We'll be back in action. I'll make sure that I drink coffee and not herbal tea next time. And yeah, we will see you in episode 38. I love you very much. Have fun. Take care. Drink your water.